All right, you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for Rock and Roll, the podcast with Dr. Nick Redbone, Tom Nelson, and me. Tell us who we have to thank this evening, partner.
We've got isopropyl alcohol to thank. Not only does it clean cassette and 8-track heads, it tastes darn good, Brock.
I found one of the magnets in my basement the other day that wipes clean the tape. Remember the magnet thing where?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And you had to run it over a magnet to read it. I found one. I don't know what to do with it at this point.
Well, you have to keep it. You have to hold on to that.
It's a great paperweight.
That's a rock and roll artifact, man.
It's part of history. It'll go in my museum.
Did you ever have to use one?
Oh yeah, the tape eraser.
I mean, you guys are younger.
Totally, yeah, absolutely.
I got into radio about a year before they kind of completely did away with like reel-to-reel and carts. And mind you, this was in a tiny little market, so who knows? I mean, the rest of the world could have moved on at that point. I just wasn't any the wiser.
So you probably at one point or another had that cart, and that wasn't the one you were supposed to erase.
Right. Everybody's been there.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Sadness.
Yeah, sad day.
Oh,
hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rock and Roll, the podcast. It is episode 7. Dr. Nick Redbone, Brock Johnson, the amazing Tommy Nelson, and between the three of us, 500 years of rock and roll radio experience. And radio will really come into play on this one because the topic we picked today was one-hit wonders.
And there are a lot of them.
You bet. Now we should talk a little bit about why radio will matter in this discussion. I think we see a hit as different than everybody else.
Well, it's a product. I mean, more than anything.
Exactly.
Yes, it's a song, but at the same time, it's a product because
for sure.
So many times you'll hear folks say, "Well, radio is part of the entertainment industry." Really, it's sales and marketing. I mean, it's both.
For sure.
But for the most part, it's sales and marketing. So naturally, we listen to the hit for more than just, the face value.
It's sad, but it's true. I mean, sure, there's creativity in radio. Of course there is, but you're absolutely right, man. It's like the product, it's dollars and cents, right?
Yep.
That's what it's all about.
Well, for instance, if somebody comes to me and they say, gosh, this band had 2 or 3 big hits, and I'll look at the charts and I'll say, well, they had one that broke the top 20,
right?
And the other ones didn't break. Yeah, but they were on the radio. Okay. Or yeah, they were on MTV. So that's the difference. I think that's kind of the way we look at it. I think we're chart guys and we're, position guys. Whereas I think people that aren't ruined on the music business and music in general, that haven't been in it, I think they just look at it as, I became aware of that song and I liked it. That must have made it a hit. If it was on the radio, if it was in a big rotation. But there are bands for sure.
If you remember it. I mean, if it's a song that gets stuck in your head, naturally that's going to become a hit in your mind.
I was just going to say, some people are it doesn't matter where it's at on the chart.
Right.
They heard it, they liked it. Oh, that was a hit for them.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I would say probably, though, the definition that we're using would be the bands that really only got on the charts or got onto the public radar in a big way once. For instance, this one I think Tommy and I were looking at the same list. Found a list of rock songs or rock bands that had a one-hit wonder, and Twisted Sister was listed as one of them. We're Not Gonna Take It was a big hit. Now they had I Wanna Rock, but it wasn't as big, but they stayed in the public consciousness for 40 years now.
Well, and Dee Snider still is.
Yeah.
Now he hosts the House of Hair and a couple of other radio shows.
So it's hard. It feels weird calling them a one-hit wonder.
But they are.
But by definition, they are.
There was somebody else too we talked about that.
Nazareth.
Nazareth.
Now you're messing with her.
Yeah.
And that's it.
No, that's not the hit.
But that's what I know.
Right. They called the same list we saw, Love Hurts. They said that Love Hurts was their hit.
Of course, it probably
did chart higher, but I'm like you. I mean, I think cowbell and the word son of a bitch in a rock song.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
It had that special little bitch in there.
That's right.
The thing that took that to the next level, though, is that it was a ballad. So not only, we're rock guys, and so Hair of the Dog is naturally going to be the number one in our head.
Right.
But Love Hurts wasn't just a rock song, but it was a pop song, and it was on soccer mom stations.
Sure.
And pop station. It was everywhere.
Yeah, very true.
So it was like a mainstream hit.
Yeah. One of the ones that showed up on the list, and and I think perfectly exemplifies what a rock one-hit wonder would be. And I love the tune, Mississippi Queen.
I knew you were going to say
I
that.
love that song.
Mountain,
that big badass riff and the him singing about New Orleans and mind you, way down around Vicksburg, that's Mississippi. That's Vicksburg is not Louisiana.
What?
If you know the lyrics to the song,
sorry.
Hey, can we? Let's take for just a moment. Let's take a short, just visual timeout for the people checking in via YouTube. If you're not enjoying the podcast on YouTube, you missed that special bonus content. So make sure to go to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe, and leave a comment and share with a friend, an enemy, a loved one.
You just sounded like every bit of programming my son has watched for a year.
Well, I haven't.
Make sure you subscribe. You're going to get a name drop. Subscribe.
Hey, man, whatever works.
Yeah, right.
Whatever works. But anyway, yeah, man, Mississippi Queen, I thought it perfect example, and I would have loved to have heard more out of him. But here's the thing. There are lots of different forces that make a band make a hit or make it so it won't happen. Mm-hmm. Radio is obviously one of them. Airplay, MTV was a huge star maker for a while.
Oh yeah,
and who the label is, who the push is.
Forces that work in the culture.
That's right. Yeah. But let's start at the very root of it. There are some bands that were only good enough to write one hit.
Yeah,
I think it's okay to say that.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know that good enough is the way you should put that, though, because there's so many other forces that go behind making it a hit.
Okay.
I mean, there's so much money at play, and you don't know what the story was at the record label. Like maybe the label had a budget for one single, because and that's something that not a lot of folks realize.
Maybe
they put an insane amount of money behind making it a single.
Right.
So if they get a deal and they release one and then something changes at the label, they may have had another 10 number ones, but we'll never know.
Yeah, it's the music business, and maybe we should touch on that real quick. Just kind of talk about how we've seen hits get made. I mean, how we've had labels and promo companies lean on us to play stuff, and where that kind of thing comes from. Mm-hmm. Currently, Brock and I being on an active rock format, which means we're dealing with new artists, we'll hear directly from the labels and the promo guys.
Yeah.
And they're, hey, what would it take to get these guys spun on the air? Here's what they're doing. We'd love to have them do interviews.
Can we drop by? Yeah,
yes.
You bet. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of how a young band will get their foot in the door.
Yep.
And once upon a time, it wasn't these little individual promotion companies. It was big monster labels. I mean, when Capitol Records decides that they're going to roll into Chicago because they want to get this artist on the air on their big FM morning show, those guys were bringing heavy hitters to bear and bringing in the band themselves and greasing palms and I'm sure candying up noses back in the 70s.
That's still happening in major markets. It's just such a smaller thing now because the label died with the welcoming of Napster.
That's right. Nobody's bringing cocaine to the Twin Falls market.
As far as we know.
Brock looks disappointed.
No, but so the record labels now are such a smaller thing because of YouTube and internet distribution, and the artists have really kind of found out a way to do it for themselves, which is why markets like Twin Falls, Idaho don't really matter to the big guys anymore.
Right. How is it that you word it? We are currently in market 300, and who gives a shit?
Yeah, market number 200, and who gives a shit?
Oh, we're in 200s, not in 300s. That's right.
So I don't really know. So say in a month's time, I mean, how many for here to listen to? How many cuts do you get?
Oh, geez.
In a month's time.
Thursday is music day,
and
on Thursday I'll hear from 1, 2, 3, usually 4 promo guys, and each one of them will have at least one, if not a few. And that's like on the edge. The beauty about being an independently owned and operated station is that we're able to give a lot of these artists a chance, and that's why smaller markets have become important, especially to the rock.
For sure.
Because you look at a band that's just starting out in rock, you got to put them on the road. So they go from venue to venue to venue. Well, they're not going to sell out arenas. They're going to sell out 500 capacity venues. So these smaller markets suddenly matter.
Yeah.
And so the promo guys call us because they want to get the songs on the radio. If the songs are on the radio, Messer is a classic example.
For sure.
Messer technically doesn't have a number one.
Right.
I mean, but there were enough little guys like us to say, oh, God, yeah, let's give them a chance. And they turned out to be, in my opinion, one of the greatest things to come out of active rock in the last 5 years.
Absolutely. And they've worked their asses off. But I still think, and maybe we are in disagreement about this, I think there are bands out there that maybe had enough rocket sauce to make one good song. Here's an example. The Vapors. I think I'm turning Japanese.
Yeah.
I think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so. Now,
What a great song.
Now, were you looking forward to the second one? From the minds that brought you, I think I'm turning Japanese. The Vapors follow up, I think I'm Finnish. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Maybe not so much.
Now maybe they had a Mozart or a Lennon and McCartney in the band, but I bet they didn't.
Doubtful,
you know what I mean?
Doubtful.
But they had a great look. It was a fun, quirky little tune. It got them enough airplay that they got on the air. MTV, the label said, "All right, let's do a video."
Yeah.
MTV grabbed it for a minute.
Do you think you can say that about a lot of bands from that era? I mean, think of The Verve, and aren't there a bunch of
the
Vapors?
The 90s were packed with one-hit wonders.
So many of them.
Yeah, I think that's what is really surprising.
Yeah,
I thought maybe it'd be more like the 70s. No. If you start digging into it,
it's like 80s and 90s.
I think
a lot of 80s and 90s.
I think when we hit the end of, it's really funny in the 60s, in the early 60s, when during that Wrecking Crew era, when you had an artist turning out an album in a week. The album was built around getting one single out there, and if it didn't hit, it was done. So there was a lot of disposable music in the 60s. Yeah. Some of the greats came out, but there was a lot of those guys went straight from recording their record to back at Woolworth's facing shelves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
But then the 70s, it seems like they got a little bit more. The artists got a little bit more longevity because,
I think album-oriented rock played a huge role in it.
For sure.
Because suddenly you're not listening for the hit. Like you talk about the hit. What are they called? The hit makers, Jingletown.
The Wrecking Crew, the guys that were going in and just churning out records.
I mean, that was their whole objective, is to get a song on the radio and make it huge. But then you had all of these rock bands that came along in the 70s, and now it's an album-oriented thing. Right. Where you're not listening for the song, you're listening for the story from start to finish.
And like I said last episode, there was so much money in the system at that point. They could afford to give an artist that showed promise time to mature and time to grow and time to evolve and create their albums and get the time in the studio and get the time on the road. That started to disappear in the late 80s and the 90s again. We went back to disposable music because creating legends costs millions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And time.
I mean, think about the money that was, just imagine the money that was spent to market Dark Side of the Moon. Now, it's paid for itself a million times since. But think about the huge push it takes to make a vinyl record with 9 cuts on it, a worldwide thing. You know what I mean?
Money. If an active rock artist today, from ashes to new,
right?
Whoever, one of the up and comings that they want to get on the chart,
right?
It's $40,000 just to break the top 40 on the active rock chart.
$40,000.
Wow. That's coming from the artist. That's coming from management. That's coming from the label. $40,000 to get it in the top 40 positions, and that's not saying that it's going to be a number one.
Exactly.
Right. Then I would imagine you have to do a whole bunch of favors along the way to get it to number one.
Lots of free shows, lots of meet and greets, lots of
That's active rock. Pop right now, and I get on these long conversations with the promo guys who call, which is a blast because then I have all of this useless information. In pop, to get a song in the top 40 is $250,000, $250,000 to get into the top 40 songs on pop.
Man.
And the thing is, the sources from that money have shrunk down so much because there used to be a galaxy of labels. You had your Mercuries and your Aristas and your Columbias and your, now there's Universal
Arista
Music Group.
Arista.
And Sony, and they've kind of swallowed everybody up.
Yep.
But looking at the 90s when we hit that disposable, it was like there was still an MTV to push them. There was still a lot of active rock radio and college radio to push these acts. But yeah, the money was starting to dry up, and they were grabbing after the post-grunge dollars.
Yeah.
Lots of bands came out sort of riding Nirvana's coattails without any credibility.
Sure. There was a lot of those.
And there were a ton of them. For instance, we were Lit. I think Lit isn't a grunge clone, but Lit is definitely a.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
that pop punk thing, for sure.
Yeah.
Lit had My Own Worst Enemy. We were talking about that earlier. You have Alien Ant Farm. The only thing they ever did was
somebody
cover. Smooth Criminal, and then they had movies, which was marginally successful.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
In that same world, you had Story of the Year, Until the Day I Die.
That's right.
So that was it. God, there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
Semisonic.
Oh, that's right. Closing time. That's right. That's right.
Dog's Eye View. Everything falls.
That's right.
Apart.
Yep.
Dimitri roll to me.
You sound just like him, man.
You sound just
really
like
good.
it. Hey, tune into episode 7. Brock sings the hits. Let's do another exclusive. Here comes a YouTube exclusive. There you go. If you weren't watching on YouTube, you missed that. Make sure to like and subscribe. Go to our YouTube channel. You see that? You see how I throw that in?
Yeah, nice.
And I think that now we've hit the point now where the machinery to make hits is still there, but now there are so many different venues to go through. Now you can have somebody who becomes a Spotify hit or a SoundCloud hit or a YouTube hit. But I still think you can be a one-hit wonder even in that genre. I stick to the belief that maybe you're only good enough to. Some people are only good enough to write one.
Sure, I can buy that. Why not? I mean,
sure.
Well, and I'll be honest. There were a lot of those records that came out in the '90s. I would buy the album. Excited about what was to come, and then I'm like, well, this is shit.
Right.
This is a single and 11 tracks of filler.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so with that said, name some of your favorite one-hit wonders.
I already named a few.
Okay.
Delamitre's Roll to Me, Dog's Eye Views, Everything Falls Apart.
Okay.
Joan Osborne's One of Us.
Oh, what great song. I forgot about how good that one was.
There was Sean Colvin, Sonny Came Home.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I think Natalie Imbruglia has since done things, but Torn. Obviously, I'm a kid of the 90s.
Sure.
Nothing's right, I'm torn.
Yep.
But I think she's had a few since then. She disappeared for a while and then came back. Spin Doctors, which is sort of... I mean, they had Little Miss Can't Be Wrong, and then... Two Princes.
I was in a bar with a couple of the guys, so the lead singer and the bass player, I think, from Spin Doctors, and the lead singer was the highest person I've ever met in my entire life.
Wouldn't you be?
He was spinning.
Oh, man.
If you were the lead singer of the Spin Doctors, if you're living off Little Miss Can't Be Wrong.
Oh, can you imagine?
Would be
night after night of doing that. Oh,
how about you? I'm listing 90s. What about you? Your favorite one-hit wonders?
Well, I think I've got some from different eras too. I mean, I still like you talk about the 90s, like Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
Not bad. But you get back into the 70s, Uriah Heep.
That's right.
Which you can hear on Bouncerock 97.5, 100.5, and at bouncerock.radio.com.
Shameless.
Beautiful.
Plug, man.
Beautiful.
Yeah, what was that? Easy Living? Is that Uriah Heep? That's right. They had the one big hit. Okay, Inagata Devita.
Yes, Iron Butterfly, man.
Huge. One of the best-selling singles of all time. And one tune.
Yeah, and a great, in DJ parlance, bathroom song.
Absolutely.
You can go change your oil, get a boil lanced, do what you got to do. You come back, you got like 5 minutes of the song left.
They're still in the second organ solo.
My bathroom song was Alabama, When It All Goes South, the extended cut. It was 6 minutes, 55 seconds, which is just enough time to make a poop.
Classic rock was where it was for bathroom songs.
Yeah, because 15-minute ballads.
I remember one station I was on, we had a live version of Skynnerd's Freebird.
There you
go.
The
guitar solo, and it's like a 17-minute cut.
I worked at a country station where there was and I don't remember which Alabama album it is, but it's live, and it would just segue from one track into the other.
Oh, so you can just play an album side.
Yeah, so if it was a really bad day,
let it go. Yeah.
I'll be back in a half hour. Peace out. He
liked to call that the fiber remix.
Yep.
Yeah, the fiber. Brought to you by Metamucil.
Okay, so another one that has to, maybe the first rock and roll hit is also a one-hit wonder. Bill Haley and the Comets, Rock Around the Clock. What else did you hear from Bill Haley and the Comets?
They tried, but you can't Nothing comes to mind.
Yeah, but I mean that the 50s and the 60s though. That's
Right.
Going back to they were
Sure.
called-
Well, but we that's even before the Wrecking Crew. But you still had guys from that.
When was the Wrecking Crew?
The Wrecking Crew was the 60s, and the Wrecking Crew was a group of studio musicians that played on pretty much everybody's album.
They made the hits and
Yeah.
then sent the artists out as a puppet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, there were still artists that came out of the 50s that had longevity. I mean, other pioneers. Little Richard kept turning out hits. Elvis had a million of them. Jerry Lee Lewis had hits.
Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash. Yep. So a lot. But there were still the one-hit wonders built in there. And I agree. I mean, it is easy to say that maybe the artists only had enough talent to do one. But you're right. There's so many variables up above. And we didn't even touch on MTV. People, we talked about this just off the air, Tommy and I again. Do you remember when MTV mattered? Because when MTV mattered...
I grew up in the 90s.
When MTV mattered, it mattered more than anything.
It was a big deal.
I drank the TRL Kool-Aid.
Okay.
That was my generation.
Yep. And we had...
Carson Daly spoon-fed me Good Charlotte every day.
And you know what? Carson Daly and I have exactly the same birthday.
Oh, isn't that nice?
June 22nd, 1973. And he's done something amazing with his life.
I was going to say, and it worked out really well for one of the two of you. You're a failure.
Oh, man.
I love you.
Ouch.
By the way, I meant to.
It's
I
fine.
mentioned this when you were coming downstairs. Come and go.
It's fine.
That is the gas station of my people.
Yeah, my baseball cap says "come and go" on it.
That is so Midwest, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By Fargo, there's 150 come and goes. I think.
I like how we touched on my sorrow, my heartbreak, and you quickly changed the subject so that it just didn't turn into me sobbing.
Well, I don't want to be too much of a dick.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we're looking out for you, man.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. You guys are like the best friends that I never wanted.
Oh, here it comes.
Huh?
Here it comes.
What?
Bonus.
I think he's.
Oh, bonus content. You
I
ready?
thought you were going to fart.
Well, give it a minute.
There we go.
That was some more YouTube bonus YouTube content. Make sure to go to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe.
The thumbs up on that one.
So when MTV mattered, MTV was able to make stars before radio, because I think there for a while, I mean, radio's always been important in getting music out there. But I think MTV for a minute, at least, supplanted radio as the tastemaker.
It was the first.
Absolutely.
It was the first visual,
Right.
in music. Well, I shouldn't say that because there's been concerts forever.
Sure, and promotional videos have been made, but MTV
But
was
to have it on a 24/7 network. You turn it on, you get to see your favorite artist 24/7.
And along with the visual, though, you're right. The music was stuff you were not getting on the radio.
Exactly.
And between the two, they just reeled you in. I mean, I remember in '81 when I first started watching it, when it came on the air, and it was just...
Yeah,
you couldn't move.
stop.
You didn't want to move.
Yeah.
You know?
90% of the crap that I know about music in the 90s is thanks to Matt Pinfield.
From
120 minutes.
That's right.
What a fantastic show that was.
And I was watching before you, because I would watch the Headbangers Ball religiously Saturdays because I didn't have a girlfriend or a social life.
Are we having another sad moment?
Yeah.
And this is the same.
YouTube.com, like and subscribe.
Last week.
Oh yeah, same fly. Good for you. Good for you. Well,
Get a friend.
When you make a friend, you make a friend for life.
There is a 100% need for processors in this room. And this should have been an after show mention. It just kind of came out. But there's no, we're sorry for the audio quality. It's not great because it goes blah, 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 blah. There's no processor down here.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on.
Okay.
It didn't happen.
Such a geek.
And that didn't happen.
But he speaketh truth.
We're moving on.
Okay, congratulations. Now think about we were talking about the money that it goes, this pod's all over the place.
60 dB hum.
Think about the amount of money that would have gone into making a single happen in 1985. Okay, now, you've already put all of the money into the studio to get this artist, to sound perfect. You've hired the top-notch producer to go into the top-notch studio to make this happen. Now the label is going to get out there and push it on radio. And they're going to put the band on tour. So spend. Now we've got to produce a video, and we've got to go to New York and get those bastards at MTV to spin it, and not overnight, but put it in prime time somewhere.
Right.
Think about the amount of money it took to make Madonna happen.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Can't even imagine the amount of money.
I mean, don't get me wrong, her talent took her, obviously, she's done so many amazing things, but to give her And I'm using Madonna as an example. Sure, she was pretty, not a super singer. And what Lucky Star was her first
star.
She was a star.
She embraced it.
Yeah.
She was a star and she knew it.
But they could have there were a lot of other people they could have had her compete with, and they did. But think about the amount of money it took to create her, and then a Cyndi Lauper next to her, or you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's how and they got longevity. But if they would have gotten even half of the push they got, they could have ended up being one-hit wonders, talent or not.
Yeah. I think that's true.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, because all that force behind them. Yeah. Absolutely.
If the force went away, so would they.
So are we in the era of the one-hit wonder again?
I don't know. That's hard to say. It's so weird right now, and I can tell you that if I hear one more cover come out of Broc, I'm going to vomit.
Yeah, that's been an awful thing.
This is a
lately.
bad trend, isn't it?
There's another
really
one
is.
from Disturbed now. Have you heard the new Disturbed?
No.
Disturbed covered Sting. I can't remember.
If I ever lose my faith in you.
No.
Yes, they did. I just read that this morning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh,
it's like stop covers. And so, I mean, there's a lot of
Disturbed,
bands,
especially.
Friends,
The new cover band, Disturbed.
If you're watching this on YouTube, if you want to, you can roll back and isolate the exact moment my heart fell out of my chest and my soul died.
I think the pandemic has done some weird things to the format. Before that, we had some bands that were making waves, and whether you want to admit to it or not, I think From Ashes to New is the next big crossover.
Four really pretty girls looking to make their way in rock. You bet.
I like those guys.
I know you do.
I like those guys.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, but I mean, you also have the Skillet.
Sure.
You have Taylor Momsen's band.
Pretty Reckless. Love Pretty Reckless.
You've got Hailstorm.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of these chick rocker bands that have been around now for a while.
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah, I guess they're. I don't know.
Yeah, it's.
What do you think?
Wasn't there always going to be some one-hit wonders if you think about it?
I think
no matter
so.
what marketing and what all the different avenues of being able to release material are. There's, to your point, I think you're right. Sure, there's going to be those people that just only have. I done did it. I shot my wad. I'm out.
Right. That's all they got. They got that one hit.
I think that's going to happen. And I think that happens today, and it's going to continue to happen.
Well, and it happened in the 70s, too. I mean, I was talking about getting all grandiose about the golden era of the 70s, but for every Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, there was a Sweet. Mm-hmm. There was I guess later Dexy's Midnight Runners.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There you go. Yeah.
So the one-hit wonders were still out there. So maybe it hasn't gone away. Maybe it's something that we're just more aware of today as the era of the big giant rock band and legacy artists is kind of fading.
Well, and I think it's funny too with some of these one-hit wonders after the hit, and their approach to it, because you have some who do not want to be identified, do not want to be defined by their hit.
Sure.
But when in all actuality, that was their, well, no, I did more than that, blah, 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 blah. But then you have guys like, and you may have told me this story, I can't remember if it came from you or a record label, but like John Popper of Blues Traveler.
Right.
If you ever mentioned Run Around, which was the hit, and obviously Blues Traveler's a fantastic band.
Right.
They have albums of great stuff.
I've seen them live. They were fantastic.
But the hit was Runaround. And I guess if you run into John Popper and make a Runaround reference, like he's the first one to say, "Oh, give me a runner," because he knows it's what made him. He knows that's what's paying for his mansion.
Absolutely. That's it. Yeah, he's feeding his kids with that song, so it better be your favorite song ever.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with one-hit wonders. Some of my favorite songs have been one-hit wonders. You know what I mean?
A good song is a good song.
Absolutely. A good song is a good song. And whether it comes from Led Zeppelin or it comes from Aldo Nova. You know what I mean? If it's a good song and you enjoyed it and you turned it on at 6:15 in the morning and it woke you up and got you out the door, then in my opinion...
867-530-9.
Exactly. Tommy Two-Tone.
Or Gary Newman Cars, which has the most difficult work on the synthesizer you've ever heard.
Do you know?
And that one note just like,
it also, I think there's also isn't there what's the tambourine solo? There's a tambourine solo in that song too. It's just
that's difficult work. Yeah.
Oh, to craft a hit.
Oh man, that makes me miss the 70s. Every song had the obligatory tambourine.
I remember the 70s. They ended when I was 8. Well, there we go. I think on that note, maybe we'd like to thank our sponsor that we don't have yet. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube.
If you point up, I can superimpose a pretend sponsor. Thanks to that sponsor.
Love you, man.
I can't wait to see who it's going to be.
And we're supposed to do, how do you do the subscribe thing?
Oh, you can point down like at the middle of the screen. Like if we all pointed down here.
You're going to be pointing at my feet. Let's put the button over my crotch.
Okay, here we go.
We'll put the button over my crotch.
Okay, if you click here in this uncomfortable part of Brock, you can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We hope that you will. And remember, next episode, I guess we're recording 2 episodes this week, but we are planning to make sure that we are always 1 episode ahead, so you will always be able to check out the content. You can find us on Spotify, you can find us on Podbean, and of course on our YouTube channel, which we want to grow. So tell a friend, tell an enemy. And
do you remember the YouTube URL? For those not watching, I think it's youtube.com/ oh, you can't have a special
until we're up to hundreds.
Well, just go to 1031theedge.com and click the button.
Or if you
and we'll put a button up on balancedrockradio.com too.
And you can also just use the YouTube search feature. I used it. I just put Rock and Roll the podcast, and it shows up. So like and subscribe. The more likes and subscribes we get, the easier it will be to find us and for us to completely irritate you. My name's Dr. Nick Redbone. That's my friend Brock. That's my friend Tommy. Peace, love, and rock and roll. We are out.